My husband, who has been domineering and bossy, suddenly threw soup at me. I was stunned as the hot liquid splashed on me. Huh? What are you doing?
What's with this soup?
Huh? It's just like usual. The taste of the soup is certainly no different from usual. The ingredients are also prepared exactly as my husband specified, so it should not taste bad at all.
No, I can't eat this soup. I can't believe you're making bad food when I'm the one who's supporting us with my money.
It's clear that my husband just wants to find fault.
What's wrong with splashing bad soup? If you have a complaint, then leave. Well, with no job, you probably have nowhere to go anyway.
I had reached my limit. It's impossible to stay married to a man like this anymore. Wiping the soup off my face with my hand, I took a deep breath and said, "Fine, I understand. I'll leave." Afterwards, my husband left the house and resorted to relentlessly making harassing phone calls to me. My name is Avery. I'm a working wife in the 3rd year of our marriage. Before getting married, I used to work at a publishing company. I was in charge of editing mystery novels and worked hard every day as an editor. It was at that time that I met Daniel, who would later become my husband. I worked at a major printing company that was a business partner of ours, and we got to know each other through work. After receiving Daniel's persistent advances, we decided to get married in our 2nd year of dating. During his proposal, Daniel said,
Avery, if we get married, would you consider quitting your job?
Huh? Daniel, why?
I can support us with my income alone, and I want my wife to take care of the household.
But certainly at that time, I was completely exhausted from the demanding job at the publishing company. Still, quitting my job required courage. Seeing me hesitate, Daniel said,
Avery, didn't you say you wanted to try writing your own works? How about using this opportunity to do some writing while being a homemaker?
Is it okay? I'm happy that I can also pursue my dreams. Upon accepting Daniel's proposal, I decided to quit my job at the company, and after getting married, I became a full-time homemaker. While managing household tasks, I also dedicated myself to writing in front of my computer. Turning the mystery novels I had dealt with as an editor into actual written books turned out to be much more challenging than I had imagined. However, since it was something I had always wanted to challenge myself with, there was also a sense of enjoyment. I had to express my gratitude to Daniel for allowing me to pursue what I wanted to do. I made sure not to neglect my household duties while being thankful to my husband. But gradually, I began to see some shadows in what had initially been an happy married life. Daniel began to constantly find fault with my household chores. One day, as usual, I was preparing dinner and waiting for his return when Daniel came home late. "Welcome back. You were late today." I greeted him with a smile, not showing any displeasure. However, Daniel frowned as he looked at the dishes arranged on the dining table.
Huh? Fish today?
Yes, fresh fish was on sale. Right after I answered, Daniel let out a deep sigh.
What's this? I wanted meat today. I don't want fish at all.
Huh? I was taken aback, and Daniel pushed the plate towards me.
Leave this for you, Avery, and make me a meat dish.
Even if you say that.
Come on, isn't it a wife's duty to quickly prepare what her husband wants to eat?
With that said, I couldn't respond with anything. In the end, I had to make another dish using the frozen meat that day. Furthermore, Daniel didn't do any household chores. Even when he had a day off and was at home all day, he would play games on his phone, ignoring my busy work. I couldn't stand it any longer and decided to talk to him. "Hey, Daniel, if you have some free time, could you help me hang the laundry?"
Huh? Why me?
My husband looked at me with an incredulous expression. "Well, today's your day off too, and it seems like you don't have any plans." When I responded like that, Daniel sighed and called me over.
Listen, I work outside every day, unlike you. Don't you think I deserve a break on my day off?
I do household chores every day, and I also write. Upon hearing this, Daniel chuckled dismissively.
That's not worth a cent, is it? I'm the one earning, and you're just living off my money, right?
Yes.
In that case, at least do the household chores perfectly. Don't ever think of making me do them again.
I understand. I was frustrated, but as Daniel said, I wasn't the one earning money. I felt a sense of obligation for being a homemaker, so I had no choice but to follow what Daniel said. Was it from around that time? He started saying that he was busy with work and the days he was away from home increased. On weekdays, he often worked overtime, and there were also many instances of him working on weekends. Every evening when he returned from work, without fail, he would nitpick and complain about things like,
"The cleaning here isn't thorough,"
or,
"You're not hanging the laundry properly."
sometimes he even woke me up from sleep just to point out my mistakes. On this day too, I was woken up at 1 a.m.
"Hey, Avery, wake up."
Huh? What? In my groggy state, I panicked and Daniel spoke with an irritated tone.
"The floor cleaning is inadequate. Redo it now."
Huh? Right now? I vacuumed the floor earlier this afternoon.
"It's still dirty. Just get up and clean the floor."
This is... Daniel stood with his arms crossed, keeping an eye on me. I ended up cleaning the floor in the middle of the night, even though it wasn't dirty.
"I'm going to take a bath and sleep. Don't sleep until you're done."
Saying this, Daniel passed by me. At that moment, I caught a scent of woman's perfume that I didn't recognize coming from him. I was briefly unsettled, but it didn't seem like the right atmosphere to confront him. It must have been transferred from someone at the office, right? Deciding to think that way, I continued with the late night floor cleaning. During that time, I was rushing to finish household chores and then concentrating on writing in the little time I had. At first, I had thought about writing a full-length novel to submit to a publishing company or enter into a competition. However, given my current lifestyle, it seemed challenging to complete a full-length novel. Therefore, I decided to serialize it on a publishing website. Fortunately, the works I submitted began to gain readers little by little. Seeing the comments from readers was also an encouragement to me. In the midst of a day full of household chores and continuing to meet Daniel's high demands, writing and submitting novels was my only respite. During those days, winter arrived and I caught the flu. My fever was nearly 104 degrees Fahrenheit and I couldn't even move. On that day, I couldn't manage even the most basic household chores and I had been lying down since morning. When Daniel returned home late at night and saw me in that condition, he raised his voice once again.
"Hey, what are you thinking? You can't do any housework at all."
I'm sorry. I went to the hospital at noon and they said I have the flu. My fever was so high that I couldn't get up. Even with my feeble response, Daniel clicked his tongue.
"You're a full-time housewife. You can't even do housework properly?"
You really have a good life, huh?
"Why are you making excuses? Get up and do the housework already."
Daniel pulls my arm and tries to force me to stand, but my body lacks the strength to get up. Please, Daniel, can you go easy on me today?
"Fine, then sleep in the hallway. I don't want you to infect me if you're sick."
Huh? Daniel dragged me, defenseless, out of the bedroom and into the freezing hallway. I attempted to return to the bed, but right in front of me, he closed the bedroom door and even locked it. I could only slump down in the hallway feeling hazy. Why was Daniel doing such terrible things? There must be a reason. Even though I was feverish, I decided to investigate my husband. Later, after I had somewhat recovered, I began secretly researching Daniel. On the surface, I continued to do housework and cater to his demands so that he wouldn't suspect anything. And I spent my savings from when I was single to hire a private investigator. Remarkable facts came to light. I never would have expected that Daniel was doing such a thing. Knowing this, I decided to keep the truth to myself, as I was certain that if this fact came to light, it would shake up my life. While holding on to this secret, I continued to live my life as usual for a while. Meanwhile, Daniel's terrible behavior remained unchanged, and the stress of keeping this secret began to take a toll on me. I was losing weight rapidly, and I even started experiencing chronic stomach aches. At this rate, I would be in a bad state. I needed to do something. During that period of contemplation, I received an email in my inbox. A few days later, I was waiting for Daniel as usual, cooking dinner. I prepared dishes that were Daniel's favorites. I hope he won't complain today. I wished that as I arranged the meal to match Daniel's arrival time.
Hey, I'm back.
My husband returned home after 10 p.m. Welcome back. Dinner is ready.
Huh? Lamb steak tonight? That's great.
Daniel seemed strangely cheerful. Because I was forbidden from having dinner until he returned, I started eating as soon as Daniel sat at the table. But the next moment, Daniel suddenly threw soup at me. Showered with hot liquid, I was left dumbfounded. What? What are you doing?
What's wrong with this soup?
Huh? It's the same as usual. Indeed, the taste of the soup was no different from usual. The ingredients were also prepared exactly as Daniel had specified, and it certainly wasn't bad.
No, this soup is absolutely inedible. Despite the fact that I'm the one supporting you with my money, you go and make terrible food.
Are you serious? Daniel was grinning as he looked at me, and it was evident that he just wanted to find fault.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. What's wrong with throwing this awful soup at you? If you've got a problem, then get out. Oh, and with no job, you've got nowhere to go, do you?
I had reached my limit. I couldn't bear to be with a man like this any longer. Wiping the soup off my face, I took a deep breath and said, "All right, I'll leave." At that moment, Daniel was briefly taken aback, but quickly returned to grinning.
Huh, you're just pretending to be strong. Well, if you can't leave, then go ahead. I know you'll come crawling back soon enough.
I left the table in silence, took a shower, and packed my things. Daniel was already snoring in the bedroom, so I left without saying a word. The next day, while relaxing at my parents' house, I received a call from Daniel. When I ignore it, it persistently calls every few minutes. It's what you'd call harassment calls, you know. But I continued to ignore them. Then 3 days later, I had had enough of the incessant calls, so I reluctantly decided to answer. Hello?
Hey, you! Where the hell are you? You just silently disappeared.
He yelled loudly, and I responded calmly. I'm at my parents' house, you know.
Huh? Are you serious about leaving like that? Cut it out already.
You were the one who told me to leave, weren't you?
You're taking it seriously. Get back home now and do the housework.
Daniel shouted angrily. In response, I sighed and replied, I won't be returning to that house.
Huh?
After work, I'll be waiting for you at the cafe near your office. Let's talk there. Goodbye. With that, I hung up. If he could at least apologize, that last hope was easily dashed. I won't show him any mercy anymore. Now, shall I proceed? I muttered to myself and sent an email to a certain place. Several hours later, as promised, I waited at the cafe, and an infuriated Daniel appeared.
Hey, what do you mean you won't go back?
As soon as he sat down, Daniel roughly said such words. I can't be your wife anymore. I answered quietly, and Daniel turned red and was about to speak. Just then, Daniel's phone rang. Are you going to answer it? It might be something urgent. I told him that, and he reluctantly answered the phone with an annoyed expression. Eventually, his face turned paler and paler as the call went on. When the call ended, he opened his eyes wide, turned pale, and covered his mouth. What's wrong? Did you get fired after all?
Huh?
Daniel suddenly turned to look at me, and I gazed at him directly. You got caught cheating with the president's daughter from one of your business partners, didn't you? That's why you got fired, right? Yes, the fact I had uncovered through a private investigator was indeed this. Daniel was having an affair with the daughter of a business partner's CEO, hiding his marriage. I had obtained photographic evidence of this through a detective.
What? How do you know about that?
Well, I'm the one who reported that fact to your company, you know.
What?
I smiled at the shocked Daniel. Meanwhile, he was at a loss for words.
Do you even know what you've done?
Yes, I'm well aware. By the way, I also reported the details to the president of your business partner. He was quite angry and wanted to hear all the details, so I also gave him the evidence of your affair.
What?
At that moment, Daniel's phone rang again. When I encouraged him to answer it, he trembled and picked up the phone. From the call, the voice of a young woman could be heard, shouting while crying. It seems that Daniel's affair partner is in a state of panic. Daniel almost couldn't say anything and hung up the phone with a pale face. Poor thing, even the woman who was your affair partner. She was just deceived, after all. You lied to her, saying you were single.
You? When did you find out?
Daniel asked in a fluster, and I answered calmly. It was just about a month ago. At first I thought I'd keep it to myself, because you see, if this were to become evident and you were to lose your job, it would mean I couldn't support myself either.
That's right, you're living on my money. What do you think you're accomplishing by doing this? You'll end up in a dire situation too.
With a bright face, Daniel lashed out at me. To him, I calmly responded, well, if that's the case, don't worry. I have my own income.
Huh?
I explained to a stunned Daniel. I had been posting mystery novels in between household chores. Moreover, it gained a large number of fans, and as a result, it's being turned into a book. The email that arrived while I was troubled by my husband's affair was the news of its adaptation into a book. Additionally, this was one of the reasons why I chose to get a divorce this time, believing that I could become independent.
What? What's that? Then you better support me next time. Because of what you did, I might lose my job, you know?
At that moment, I splashed the water from the glass onto Daniel.
What are you doing? It's cold, isn't it?
Be glad it wasn't hot soup. We're getting a divorce. I'll charge you $20,000 for the affair, so pay up, you scumbag. Daniel, while in a panic, pleaded not to get divorced. I shrugged it off and left the cafe without further ado. Later, Daniel and I got divorced. Thanks to the lawyer, the cheating fee was paid immediately and I received my share of the property. Afterward, Daniel got fired from his job. He's also facing a lawsuit from his affair partner and has to pay alimony. Because of that, he's burdened with an enormous debt, and now he lives in a rundown apartment. He works like a workhorse day and night. It's all his own doing, so I don't sympathize with him at all. As for me, I moved to a new apartment with the alimony and live comfortably. My novel, which was turned into a book, is doing well, and I'm currently working on the next one. From now on, I want to make an effort every day to fulfill my dreams while taking care of myself.